Hello, everyone, and welcome again to the Unfound podcast channel on YouTube. I am, of course, Unfound's host, Ed Densel. Before I get into the map analysis for the disappearance of Holly White, I hope you will consider subscribing to this channel, share this with all of your true crime friends and family members. And if you're really feeling frisky, why don't you join this channel for the low price of 10 cents a day. What I'm going to show you in this video is, of course, we're now looking at the route from Taos to the Rio Grande Gorge Bridge. I'm then going to zoom in on the bridge, show you that area, and then finally we're going to look at the area downstream from the bridge. So as you can see, this is of course on Google Maps. This is the route, Taos down here. This is where Holly lived. Of course, she was going to be moving to Albuquerque, which is well south of that. And you can see right here, as the box explains, it's a 17-minute drive, at least this time of the day. I'm doing this on June 30th at about noon Eastern time. So if I were there, that is how long it would take to drive from Taos, the middle of Taos, to the bridge. 17 minutes, 11.9, let's just call it 12 miles. There, as Elaine mentioned in the interview, there are no dirt roads that Holly would have normally driven if she was the one who drove out there. If somebody else drove her car out there, there are no dirt roads, anything that would dirty her car, even though it seems that the car had been on some sort of dirt road not long before it was found at the parking lot. And speaking of the parking lot, let's just go to the bridge itself right now. I will show you that area so I can zoom in. Zoom, zoom, zoom. All right, I think this is good. Okay, here is the bridge. And as Elaine stated, it is about 700 feet above the river, which is right here. This is the skinny part right here in the middle, and maybe I'll zoom out a little bit. There we go. Maybe I'll push this up a little bit like that. Okay. That, there's some better contrast right there. That little line right there in the middle is the river. And that is something that Elaine and I were trying to explain, is that, yes, this bridge, it's, 800, 900 feet long, something like that across this valley. But the river itself is not that wide. It's not 700 feet wide or whatever. The bridge is 700 feet in elevation above the river, but the river itself is very skinny. And that was the point I was trying to make, specifically myself in the interview, is that there's no guarantee that if you jump off the bridge that you're actually going to hit the water. And as you heard Elaine say, there are people who have gone out to this bridge and jumped and missed the water. And the reason is you're 700 feet above this river. It's very skinny, and I'll just zoom into it a little bit more so you can see what I'm saying there. That you'd have to be precisely right in the middle and hope that when you went off, that you went straight down. Now, do these people care if they hit if they hit the land or the water, they're going to die? So maybe that's not even in their minds. Very well could be. In contrast to like the Golden Gate Bridge, where there's nothing but water underneath it. So maybe these people don't even care. But if you're of the mindset you'd hit the water, and it does seem quite a few people do, it's not that easy to do. We also can't forget is if you want to jump off and you want to hit the water in contrast to hitting the land, I know you're suicidal, but do people think like this? I'm not sure. But there are going to be wind currents that as soon as you jump off, your body, it's a long way down. And the wind could push you one way or the other. There's no guarantee, even if you're in the middle, that you hit the water. But it does appear that some people do, and a lot of people don't. I think it's just maybe the luck of the draw, or it very well could be that maybe people didn't, like I said, didn't care at all. But this photo right here shows you how the bridge covers mostly land, not water. So to zoom back out, this is the parking lot where her car was found. This is where the vendors go. You can see it's Rest Area Road right in here. Very good view of the bridge from there, and that is where her car was found. What I thought is interesting about this is that if we are to believe Holly did this, and I'm not telling you what to think, but if Holly did go out there to jump off this bridge, it means she drove across the bridge, parked her car, then walked back onto the bridge. Whereas I think what Elaine said, I might have misunderstood, but at least one other person who has gone from Taos out to there, who drove out there, actually just left their car on the bridge and jumped. And that is, I think, more common, given that I have the Skyway Bridge just south of me that goes between St. Petersburg, Florida, and going down to Sarasota. A lot of commercials, national commercials have been shot at that bridge. It's a Skyway Bridge, very unique bridge. And they have suicide. They actually just put a fence up on the sides of it just within the last couple years. There are cameras at the top of the bridge, and it's really high up because cruise ships have to be able to go under it, because that's the entrance to Tampa Bay going into the city of Tampa. That there are cameras up there. There's a suicide hotline phone up there. Multiple things. This bridge does not have that, but I can tell you when people have jumped, they've left their cars up there as well. They've driven up to the top of this bridge and jumped off. So it seems to me, my perception is when people jump off bridges, that's what they do. So for Holly to leave her car over here in the parking lot, once again, if she did it, it is rare, maybe bordering on odd, depending on how you look at it. But she did have to drive across here, once again, or somebody did, and park the car there. They crossed over the bridge where this alleged suicide occurred. Or it could be somebody just drove the car and there was like a couple people responsible for this. Drop the car, get in somebody else's car, they take off, try to make it look like Holly jumped off. Either way, they had to drive across the bridge first. So then we look at downstream. What does this tell us about looking at the downstream area if we are to believe that Holly went off the bridge? Probably, I'm no expert in water flow, but having thought a lot about this, we of course have covered some disappearances regarding people who disappeared near bodies of water. I list them in the episode. Jake Lachelet, Shane Fell, Crystal Bailey, Ben Archer. I think what hurts a search in this particular circumstance is, yes, the Rio Grande is not as big, for example, as the Mississippi River. It's not the Mississippi River. It does not have the flow of the Mississippi River. It probably never will. It's not even as big as the Delaware River, which is where Ben Archer was last seen next to the Delaware River. Jake Lachelet, his truck was found on a bridge over the Mississippi River. If you don't want to believe they went into the water, totally fine. I'm not telling you what to think. But the Rio Grande is not like those rivers. Even if it's getting a lot of melted snow, rainfall, it's just not. But you can see how it has cut this into the land there in New Mexico. And what I see here, though, is this is a river that is fairly straight. It does end up turning, but way down here. That's like about maybe, I don't know if, you can see it. That's about 8 miles downriver before it really starts to make a considerable turn. I think in nature terms, for a river, this is pretty straight. And what that means, unfortunately, is that if Holly did jump off the bridge, or somebody took her body out there and threw it off, if the water was flowing rapidly, if there was a lot of water going underneath the bridge at that time, and Elaine says that she believes that was the situation, given how straight this river is, she could have gone a long way. In contrast to, and anybody who's looked at the satellite map knows, there are a lot of bridges that are, S's. Turn and turn, 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 turn. And the reason that happens is because the water flow is slow. Anything that is in the water is dropping to the bottom, and eventually the water is being moved one way or the other. And that's why the S's start. Whereas if the water flow is fast, the straighter a river is going to be. And this would lead me to believe that a lot of the times the Rio Grande does have decent flow. In addition, it seems this part of the United States, given how it is cut into the land here, this land is fairly soft. That also causes the river to be fairly straight, causing a real problem for searchers. If this right here was, really bendy and S-turns, then the odds would be that if she went off the river, if her body was thrown off the bridge, that it could be found pretty closely because those turns slow the river down. Thus, anything that is flowing in the river tends to drop to the bottom. Whereas while the water is moving fast, things get carried downstream. So that is the map analysis for Holly's disappearance. And I will catch you next time when I feel like I have to do a map analysis. See ya.